I write with blue pens now, glass pens with little painted blown glass animals at the top. I bought them from a little girl outside the walls of the Taj Mahal. I didn't realize how hard it would be to find pens here. I would have brought more with me. For years I used nothing but black ink. I don't know why, maybe it just seemed more substantial, made more of a statement. Maybe blue seemed too unsure of itself, like I might as well have been writing with a pencil. Walking away from the Taj, there is the usual throng of Indian children trying to sell us any manner of things. This one little girl catches my attention, though, and when I stop to talk to her, I find out she is selling pens. She hands one to me and asks if I want to buy it. I inspect it. It's quite an amazing thing, really, for a place where it's hard to find a pen at all. I joke with her for a minute and pretend to haggle over the price of one of them. Somewhere in the middle of this, I remember that I actually need pens, so I buy the whole box. 12 amazing little hand-painted blown glass pens for 10 cents apiece, or something ridiculous. So for the moment I write with blue pens, but they have a story behind them. Their story makes the ink more substantial, I think. I'm on the train to Jaipur, the one I booked from in first class instead of second. Actually, it isn't the exact same one, because technically I missed that one. This is one I booked after I arrived at the train station at the wrong time. I am sitting across from a well-dressed, middle-aged Indian couple. He is a dignitary of some type, and she works for a bank. Unquestionably, they are rich by Indian standards. As a rule, Indians do not travel light, it seems. The luggage at the Delhi airport was the largest I've seen anywhere, and my travel companions to Jaipur have no less than 2 large bags just for their tiffins, round metal food containers. I should clarify that I mean no disrespect. They are generous and kind to me. She feeds me several times during the train ride, and I am grateful for the food. Even so, when I'm so full I can no longer accept any more, even out of politeness, they continue to open more tiffins. I don't pretend to know with certainty the reason for this overabundance, but it feels like a way to stave off the hunger that is all around them. We engage in polite conversation for a while, and they are fascinating travel companions for their worldliness, their education, their perspective, and their abundance. But it is a long train ride, and I run out of things to say. Mostly I stare out the window, at a scene that would make Van Gogh blush. It's no wonder there's so much poverty in this country. All its wealth is invested in colors. The houses are painted in cheery shades of blue and peach and orange and red, and the countryside is painted in mustard blooms as far as I can see. There is a rapid rhythm of conversation throughout the train, but I understand almost none of it. Instead of being distracting, the rumble fills the space around me, holding a place for me to think. We move on from village to village, fields of green and gold, foothills and scattered trees, bamboo and hay, brick and wall, thatch and canvas, and still more colors from which I have no name. Then another village in more unfamiliar colors I may never see again, along with silhouettes of camels and red sunset that threatens to set fire onto the horizon. There's a man riding a bike past a field of goats, 2 broken tractors, and a woman carrying a load of sticks on her head. These twilight scenes somehow remind me of Africa, though I've never been there. But as the sun tucks itself away for the night, I imagine I see the shadows of elephants. We arrive in Jaipur after dark. In another surprise move of kindness and generosity, the dignitary from the train gets off with me, finds the rickshaw driver and pays him out of his own pocket. He gives the driver strict instructions where to take me. He gives me his personal number to tell him if the driver does not do exactly as instructed. The hotel is wonderful, though the floors are concrete and the bed not especially comfortable. Compared to most backpacker rooms, it's the picture of luxury. And for about $7 a night, I not only have my own bathroom but a balcony with a view, as well as a restaurant on the roof overlooking the city lights. In the morning, I go for a walk through the pink city. I wander the narrow, winding back roads where the locals are. I stop and talk to strangers in their shops. I am desperate to experience the real India. If I could change the color of my skin and my eyes, I would. I stop for chai in a tiny stall roughly the size of a walk-in closet, where I hand an old man wearing a dirty undershirt 2 rupees for a glass of tea as small as its price. The only place to sit is an unpainted board 12 inches wide, 6 feet long, and 6 inches off the ground. We smile and nod to each other, but neither of us speaks. I watch him stir his chai in a large steel wok over a little fire. His pale red lungi, frayed at the edges, is also in need of a wash. I guess that he has no wife at home to take care of these details. It also occurs to me that his chai stall could be his home. From my low perch I watch the world as it passes by on these dirty side streets. There are no Westerners in this corner of the city, just locals going about their business, weighing out brightly colored spices, walking back from the fish market, stopping at the pawn shop, socializing over tea. Old men in lungis and flip-flops, walking hand in hand, and dirty-faced children who are all bright smiles and wild eyes. I am comfortable here, sitting on this board in this tiny chai stall, hidden away from the recognizable world. For the moment, I've disappeared. I meet a Brit back at the guest house. He's on his way home after a 6-month stint in Kerala, working for an NGO. Like the Aussie in Delhi, the Brit proves invaluable in teaching me what I need to know to get by here. We go shopping for all kinds of things I don't really need, like silk shirts, saris, and jade statuettes, and others that I do, like sheets and lungis, which really aren't that different, shawls and soap. We spend hours upstairs in one shop owner's attic, drinking chai, smoking a hookah, and trying on racks of clothes as the owner rolls out fabric upon fabric and rug upon rug for our perusal. At night we crash an Indian wedding. The Brit tells me the locals love it when Westerners attend. It's supposed to be good luck or something. I'm skeptical, but it turns out it's true. In fact, they dote on us. From the moment we walk in, hosts in ceremonial dress bring us plate after plate of exotic food and pay us almost too much attention. You'd think one of us was the groom. Weddings are a big deal in India. The father's ability to put on a big party as big a party as possible for his daughter reflects his prominence in the community. Many of the men, both older and younger, engage us in conversation. Many of the questions are designed to bait for answers that will flatter the host. They also seem eager to preemptively defend the system of arranged marriages, a topic, of course, neither the Brit nor I would bring up on our own. Out of politeness, if not an innate sense of self-preservation, we manage to skirt the issue. 2 young girls bring us each a long-stemmed flower, but before we can thank them, they retreat to the other side. They retreat to the sides of older seated women. There are also several beautiful young women in attendance, but despite repeated attempts, I cannot catch the eye of even one of them. The Brit must have noticed my feeble efforts, because he whispers to me that the unmarried women here are forbidden from talking to us without an adult present. Also, he explains, the only reason for introduction would be if the elders saw us as candidates for a similar ceremony of our own. The air in Jaipur is even worse than Agra. Turns out my immune system is not up for the challenge, and by day 3 I catch a nasty cold. But I am determined not to let it intrude too much on my adventures. I take whatever cold remedies I can scrounge up, drink some chai, and pull on my day pack. Other than the cold, the day starts out fine. I head out to get some pictures of a few touristy sites, a place I haven't seen yet, due to my general preference for the obscure. While sitting in a local food stall, a young Indian boy approaches me and asks me if he can sit at my table. Of course, I say. I offer him tea and he accepts. He says some Westerners don't like to talk to Indians, and asks if I'm okay with him asking me questions. This is a funny place to be for people who don't like talking to Indians, I tell him. We talk while I finish my snacks, and then he invites me to meet some of his friends. I decide it isn't as if I have any other place to be exactly, and I am here to follow the thread of adventure where it leads me. I go back to a flat where 3 or 4 other teenage boys are hanging out. They order a round of chai for the room and quiz me about life in America. I play along for a while, but soon the talk turns to sex. Knowing the strict customs of much of India, I am uncomfortable having this conversation. I have no idea what kind of trouble I could stir up if I entertain their questions. As I attempt to steer the conversation in other directions, it turns out they have an agenda of their own. It soon becomes apparent that they are pawns in a game to get me to import, smuggle, jewels for them into America. I am promised a handsome cut. And I thought the sex talk was uncomfortable. I haven't heard of this scam yet, but something doesn't feel right. Also, the cold is starting to take its toll on me, and I am feeling worse and worse, so I try to excuse myself to go back to my room and take a nap. But instead of backing off, their pressure escalates. I am increasingly aware of the need to remove myself as delicately and as immediately as possible. While they are teenagers, they are not children. There are 4 of them, and I don't really know where I am or how easy it would be for me to leave should I flatly refuse their offer. As a diversion, I decide to tell them a story about a dream I had. I am on a bridge, an old stone bridge. A lush riverbank awaits on the other side. I am not quite halfway across, but I notice as I walk that the bridge is not there at all. It is not a new bridge, so it doesn't seem likely that it is simply unfinished. Despite the inevitable peril, I don't appear concerned about falling into the water. Just as I am approaching the edge of the bridge, a white beam of light appears over my head. More accurately, the beam is going straight into my head. The light fills my whole body and turns into a sparkling white mist. The mist then expands beyond the physical form, spilling out over the bridge into the firmament, illuminating 1,000 pathways on all sides of me. When I am done, I stand up and say, "So what is the lesson here, boys?" Faced with blank looks all around, I answer for them. Is it that there are always more paths for you to take than you imagine? Or is it simply that it is a bad idea to do mushrooms before going to bed? I'll let you decide. And then I bow and say, until we meet again, never planning to see them again, of course. But this is not the end of it. They insist to know where I am staying so we can continue this conversation. Just as I am pondering the odds of my escape, if I simply bolt for the door, a woman in a royal blue sari appears at the doorway. She gestures for the teacups and the tray, which the boys immediately fetch for her. Then she turns to me and says, "Jaipur is a wonderfully big city. I'm sure you'd love to see more of it than in this room. Come with me, and I'll tell you some things that aren't written in your guidebooks."